Hey guys, welcome back. Earlier this evening I posted a 25-second video filmed in my shower while drinking because I make stellar life choices, asking you guys to ask me questions for this video here. Interesting to note, after I posted that I immediately lost 2 subscribers, so sorry if I offended anybody. Anyways, you guys did not disappoint. I have a ton of questions to answer, so let's do this. Just in case anybody's worried about like their own name being read out, I'm not going to say who asked each question, I'm just going to read the questions. If I ever do these in future and you really want your name mentioned, just let me know, but I don't know, privacy? I don't know. It's the lawyer in me. Anyways, so the first question. If you weren't an attorney, what would you be? Well, my goal and my dream when I went to school was to become initially a forensic pathologist, like a coroner, and then after I took forensic anthropology in first year undergrad, I wanted very much to be a forensic anthropologist. That was the focus of my study all throughout my undergraduate, and then life came along and altered those plans. And I found myself in law school, and here I am doing family law. I've now been a lawyer for 10 years as of September. Now, however, 10 years out, with children and a husband, what would I want to be? If I could be anything, it would be a full-time YouTuber. The next question is, who is your favorite employee or coworker? This question was posed by one of my employees / co-workers, so Paul, you know it's you. Who else am I gonna say? Well, I guess I could say Barry. I mean, I am married to him. The next question we have is, how the hell do you balance legal work / owning a practice, motherhood, and YouTube? I don't really know. I mean, okay, here's the real deal. There's no way that I could do all of this if it wasn't for Barry. That's just straight up honest to God truth. There is no way I could do this without him. He makes this possible for me. It's a lot, it is, and at any given point I feel like everything's gonna come crashing down around me, but I don't view YouTube as a task that needs to be done. Like I really enjoy doing it, and work, especially lately, is so busy that I don't have time to sit around and lament life's problems. Like I go into the office, 8 hours later I leave, and it's just been like, I've held my breath the entire time, just head down, getting it done. Following into that quite nicely though is the next question. What's the hardest and most favorite part of mom life? So the hardest is the mom guilt. So for example, last week Aspen was sick at school. She threw up outside just after lunch while she was out on recess, and the school called me. I was at court. I couldn't leave. I had to call Barry, who had to go and get her. Barry's an awesome dad, and he would no doubt take care of her very well. But for me, that should have been me. I'm her mother. That should have been me to go and pick her up and be with her. The mom guilt's fucking real, man. It is real. My most favorite part though is just spending time with them. I've got some great kids. Like, Aspen blows me away. She is just such a tender, amazing little person. She was just awarded, she just received an award for being caring. Every month their school focuses on a character trait. So at the end of last year she won an award for empathy, and this month she won an award for caring. And that's not anything that we can really teach her. That comes from within. I'm just so proud of the person she's becoming, not just because she's my daughter, but because she's going to go into this world and make it a better place. And Bennett, God love him, he is just so full of joy. He is such a snuggle bug. I love doing bedtime with him. I do bedtime with him pretty much every night. And like Barry starts him off, and then I feed him his bottle and do the final cuddles and put him into his crib and all that. And I love that time because he's just so quiet. He lies in my arms and I get to kiss him and tell him how much I love him. And you know, we just like, I just rest my forehead on his, and then we do like a little checklist before bed. It's just becoming part of our bedtime routine, and it's just the cutest thing. I'm like, okay, you've got your music on, check. Oh, I treasure these days so much because they do go by so fast, and that's, how do you pick one favorite thing? Somebody asks, how do you blend your eyeshadow so well? Well, first of all, aren't you a darling? Thank you so much. Second of all, it's a lot of time. If I use this brush here, doesn't matter what it is. I use this brush to put like a transition shade in, and then I go in with this one to put a slightly darker shade. After I put that darker shade, I will go back in with that original one and blend them all out. And then if I use this one to put into the crease an even darker shade, I will put that in. I will then go back with this one, blend that out again, and then blend yet again with the first brush. So it is time consuming, but it's just all about establishing that gradient and working a little bit of shadow at a time. If you go in with a ton because you're like, hey, I really want a nice dark smoky eye, I'm gonna just stick a bunch of black shadow in there, it doesn't leave you any room for blending. It's going to get bunched up, or it's going to transfer down, or it's just going to be altogether way more work than it needs to be. So go a little bit at a time and really take the time, and like I said, switch back and forth between your brushes. And frankly, just keep practicing. So the last of the Instagram questions is, what was your most bizarre / interesting case? It's an awesome question, but I have been struggling since I read it to figure out the answer to that. I've been in practice for 10 years, as I said, so I've seen a lot. And every time you think you've seen something, you've seen it all, somebody else comes along and just bumps that bar up a couple notches. I think I live a very sheltered life, basically, after I hear some of the stories that people present to me. I did have a client once tell me that her partner had presented her with what he termed a sex menu. So he had enumerated his list of desires, shall we say, and then he would basically order off of that menu and just expect that she would perform said desires. And when I heard that, I thought, A, how incredibly unromantic, and B, the fuck. So she was not on board with that whatsoever, which was part of the reason she was coming to see me. But just to think that there is at least one person out there who thinks that that is A-okay, this is a little eye-opening for me. My camera overheated and so did I, so the hair is now up. Alright, it's time to move into the YouTube questions. So let me bring the video up so I can see. Alright, so I will name this person because it's my husband. So Barry says, would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 1,000 duck-sized horses? Really, Bear? Really? Okay. I would rather fight a horse-sized duck because ducks are cute. Their only real method of defense is their little quacky beaks, and I feel like I could potentially avoid that, even if it was horse-sized. Also, I think I could distract it with like a loaf of bread or something, like toss and then run. So I think I would fare better with a horse-sized duck. 1,000 little tiny horses, cute, overwhelming. I don't want to fight them. They'd be too cute and little. The next question that I have here is, if I could collab with any brand, what brand would it be? What would I create? Would it be eyeshadows, lipsticks, liners, brow products, etc.? If I could collab with any brand, buckle up guys, you might be surprised by this one. I would collab with Tarte. If only to show them that if they throw some freaking colorful eyeshadows into a palette, the world as we know it is not going to come crashing down around us. So I want to create an eyeshadow palette with Tarte. And in a perfect world, it would have, I don't know, maybe 6 or 9 pressed eyeshadows and then 3 of their chrome paints, but I would get to choose all of the colors. Haven't put too much thought into what those colors would potentially be. Vibrant jewel tones, like emerald green and royal blue and a deep, rich purple. I have to put, obviously, thought into it, and this is never going to happen, but Tarte is the brand that I would collaborate with, if only to shake up their creative development team just a touch. Oh, and then we're getting deep. How do I feel about the whole Justice Kavanaugh situation, and whom do I believe? I would not want to see him on the Supreme Court. I wouldn't want to see him in any court, to be honest. I do not believe him. I fully believe her. That's all I'm going to say. And Trump's an idiot. Another question is, which discontinued product do you want to come back and why? The electric palette needs to come back. I think people who have missed out on it, people who are newer to makeup, need the opportunity to see what a bright-ass, colorful palette is all about. And that is the best one in my estimation. So that's the one that I would want to see come back. If Jurassic World were real, would you be for or against the destruction of the remaining dinosaurs on the last island? For example, destroy the island or let them live? Well, I think if anything that the Jurassic franchise has taught us is that those fuckers really do need to die. Because inevitably something goes wrong and humanity is at risk. So first of all, we should not have recreated them and brought them back to life. But since we have in Jurassic Universe, they should all just be put to sleep gently. Like, don't let them like burn up in a volcanic eruption. Slip a pill in their food. I don't know. I don't think I want to see like a Tyrannosaurus Rex in my backyard. That's all I'm saying. Another question is, how do I deal with the stress of my job? Humor, largely. I try to laugh as much off as I can. Sometimes a good cry is fully warranted, and that's all there is to it. A lot of times it comes down to just extra snuggle times with my kids, especially when I've been dealing with issues where kids have been put in between their parents' conflict. But I try not to take it all at face value, because the people that I deal with are going through the worst thing that they've probably ever gone through, and emotions are raw. It's not, you can't just set that emotion aside. Like, we're not just dealing with like a car purchase that went wrong. We're dealing with families, we're dealing with history, we're dealing with emotion, children, fear, uncertainty, all of that kind of thing. So I do try not to let it get under my skin. It is difficult, but I try. And yeah, I really do try to laugh off as much as I can, and just not take life too seriously. If you were single, which superhero would be my boyfriend? Green Lantern. If only because in my mind, Green Lantern actually is Ryan Reynolds. Really, it would be Deadpool, but the whole burned face and super, you know, caustic kind of deal would be a little much. You just stick Ryan Reynolds in a cape, and he could be my superhero boyfriend. That would be totally fine by me. So if I could only keep one palette, and only one palette, which palette would it be? Jesus, that's like Sophie's Choice. If I could only keep one palette. God damn. I feel like I've answered this question before. I said it was a chocolate gold before, but I'm going to retract that statement. There's got to be something else. Who would make somebody choose something like that? What kind of monster would make you choose to just keep one palette? Oh, fuck. What kind of barbaric goddamn question is this? And the question is also posed, if you could only keep one lipstick, what would it be? Currently, the fave is the new Fenty. This is the uncuffed one. Right now, if I could only save one, it would be this one. That could change eventually, but for right now, this is the one that I would save because Also, it could double as a weapon in the case of an emergency. Like somebody trying to take all my palettes except one. I can't answer this question. I don't know. Would it be this one? Which palette would you save? If you could only save one, which palette would you save? Because I feel like everybody should go through this trauma that I'm experiencing right now. I don't know. I fail. I can't answer that question. I'm sorry. I don't know. Somebody asked me if I've seen the Mighty Boosh / Old Greg. If so, do I like their watercolor? I don't know what that means. Okay, what is the most unusual, exotic pet that you would get today if you could, / if it were allowed? I'll tell you right now, it's not gonna be a fucking snake or spider. Like, every time I read a news article where somebody's like, boa constrictor lost in an apartment building. How the fuck do you have a boa constrictor in the apartment building? Why the fuck do you have a boa constrictor? What are you doing with it? Are you bringing it out when you're watching Netflix and just snuggling with it? Why do you have a boa constrictor? There's so many questions in my mind about this. I don't understand. Not buying a boa constrictor, I would buy a sloth. Because they're cute. And they're not going to run away because they don't fucking run. So, I feel like my spirit animal is a sloth. I think that means that I'm just a very lazy person. I've come to accept that. There are people in my life who love me, laziness notwithstanding. So if I could buy an exotic pet, it would be a sloth. And you can come and visit because it would be adorable. Okay. What is my favorite meal of all time? Jesus. I'm not a foodie. I don't know. So I'm sorry, I'd love to hear what your favorite meal is though. I would love to hear that because I suspect anybody who asked that question is probably a foodie, and I would love to hear what I'm missing out on in the hopes that maybe I will expand my palate, but right now my palate is very much American drive-thru. And yes, I'm ashamed of myself. Yes, I am. Oh, somebody says, is anybody else super relaxed by the sound and sight of the shower? Totally lowered my blood pressure. That's hilarious. It's like some weird ASMR thing, but it's only 25 seconds long. Sorry. Perhaps I should film myself in the shower more often. Next. What dating and life advice would you give to your 19-year-old self? Look for somebody who is your foundation and somebody who propels you forward, doesn't hold you back, doesn't try to change you, doesn't try to isolate you, doesn't try to force their ideals on you. By God, if somebody gives you a sex menu, get the fuck out. How old was I when I got married? I was 29. And this is the last question. Of all the steps that go into makeup application, which is your favorite and do you have a least favorite? Eyeshadow would have to be my favorite. There's something cathartic, there's something almost therapeutic to me about blending eyeshadows. I hope people understand what I'm saying with that because to me it stills my mind. It gives me something to focus on, it keeps my hands busy, it keeps my mind busy, and it just helps me to center myself. That may sound like an awful lot for just doing this to accomplish, but it's true. Applying eyeliner, especially if I'm attempting wings, will always raise the blood pressure a few notches. So that's probably my least favorite thing, simply because there's always that risk of just ruining everything. I want to thank you guys so much for asking awesome questions and just being willing to follow me on whatever little willy-nilly path I take. So thank you. I am, yeah, really feeling those Caesars now, like really feeling them. By the way, people were asking the last time I had one of these. This is Caesar. I think it's a Canadian drink. I could totally be making that up. It's like a Bloody Mary, but it has clam juice in it, which sounds fucking gross. But a little bit of a salt rim. There's some Tabasco in there, a little bit of Worcestershire, and it's heaven in a cup. Yes. Okay. Thank you. I'll put this down now. I will see you in my next video. I promise to be sober. Until then, let's all be decent human beings, shall we? Let's do it. We can do it. It's not that hard. We can do it. Okay, bye-bye.